Welcome to the 2023 30-1 MLB Countdown Previews brought to you by JohnPielli.com and the Pass Ball Show. As I've done for the last 12 years, I've played around with the projected over-unders of all 30 MLB teams, coming up with a projected win-loss total, and ranked the teams in inverse order from 30 to 1, 30 being the worst, number 1 being the best, to set myself up with a team preview for the upcoming season. And right now we're going to focus on the team that's ranked number 24 on the 30 to 1 MLB Countdown Previews, and that's the Pittsburgh Pirates, a team that has won the World Series 5 times, 1909, 1925, 1960, 1971, and 1979, and is coming off of a season where they went 62-100 under manager Derek Shelton. Now, they lost their opening day shortstop last year, Kevin Newman, in a trade with the Cincinnati Reds. Michael Chavis, who spent a lot of this season as their starting first baseman, is now playing for the Washington Nationals. And Ben Gamel is no longer with the Pittsburgh Pirates. But they added pitchers Rich Hill, also known as Dick Mountain, Vince Velasquez, who's had some success in the major leagues, mostly with the Philadelphia Phillies. Left-hand reliever Jarlin Garcia, who has had some very good years, most recently with the San Francisco Giants. And Austin Hedges, who's going to be here to be their starting catcher. They also brought back veteran Andrew McCutchen, at one point the face of the franchise, Carlos Santana, Connor Joe, and Ji-Man Choi. So there is some more veteran leadership brought to what seems to be a pretty young team. And a team that I'm having a hard time believing is going to make a run as far as being a wild card team or be in contention in a National League Central Division. But I think it's a team that is well underway with general manager Ben Cherington. I do think there's some positive things coming ahead for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think they have some very good young players, certainly their star players, their center fielder Brian Reynolds. And I think that this is a team that has an interest in building around some good young players. Brian Reynolds is the player to build your team around. He right now is their number 3 hitter. He's a all-star year in and year out, should be, as long as he's playing with the Pirates. And the Pirates are going to have a ton of interest if they're looking to trade Brian Reynolds. Now, I wouldn't trade him if I'm the Pirates, because I think the Pirates have done a lot, in regards to moving some veteran players or some players that have had some success at the major league level, like Joe Musgrove prior to that, Garrett Cole. This is not really the time to do that. And I think this is a team that has started to invest in some of its younger players. The extension that they gave Ke'Bryan Hayes, I think it's time to do the same with Brian Reynolds. Build your team around him. You got O'Neal Cruz, who's going to be your starting shortstop, hopefully for this year and the future. And you do have some good young pitching. You look at Mitch Keller, who's probably going to be your opening day starter. David Bednar is going to be the closer. You have some other solid players around. And of course, because the team has sucked over the past 5 or so seasons, they've been able to draft good young players because of their high draft position. So if I'm looking at the Pirates, I like the way their lineup is kind of a drastic difference of what it was last year. Last year it was some journeyman players mixed with some high minor league guys that were looking to get some at-bats and getting a little MLB exposure. I think you could put together a legitimate MLB lineup with what they have. O'Neal Cruz will be batting towards the top of the order. I got him batting the leadoff. He can bat wherever, but if I go with Cruz, followed by Andrew McCutchen, Reynolds, Ke'Bryan Hayes, Connor Joe in left field, Carlos Santana, Ji-Man Choi at first base and DH in some way, shape, or form, Hedges, who gives you a veteran presence behind the plate, and Rodolfo Castro. That's a much better lineup than what we've seen really in the past 5 or so seasons for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Coming off the bench, Cal Mitchell, who I think could be their everyday right fielder. I got him out of the lineup right now, but it's also with respect to Andrew McCutchen. I think the Pirates have the ability to move some players around. Connor Joe has some versatility both in the infield and the outfield. Obviously, McCutchen could play all three outfield positions if needed. Rodolfo Castro could play all over the place. So Cal Mitchell is going to get a lot of PT. Jack Sawinski, who was brought over in a trade a couple of years ago, I believe, in one of the trades they made with the San Diego Padres. But he's going to get some PT. Tyler Heineman, who has done a pretty good job as a starting catcher and a backup catcher, I think is gonna be able to help the Pirates out a little bit. And Jay Juan Bay, who I think is a very underrated prospect that could be in the mix when it comes to the infield and outfield coming off the bench this year. So if I'm looking through the starting rotation, I like Mitch Keller, who they already announced is going to be starting opening day for them. I think that's a good move. You take a good young player, somebody that is looked at as being part of the future, and I think that's a good job by the Pirates naming him their opening day starter. You could go with Dick Mountain. You could go with Brubaker, who's been a stable force, a young pitcher in their rotation over the last couple of years. Velasquez, I like the fact that he's going to get a little bit of a chance to pitch. And then you got Contreras, the right-hander who they got in a Jameson Taillon trade. And I think you're going to look at it from a perspective when you got teams that could hit a little bit. I think they're going to feast a little bit on some of these younger pitchers as they're getting used to things in the major leagues. There's a pitcher by the name of Quinn Preister as we get into the top 30 prospects that they have. He's ranked number 4 in their top 30 prospects. One-time first-round draft pick in 2019. I think he could be ready to make some sort of an impact this year. Their top prospects, if you're looking at Tamar Johnson, who was their first-round draft pick last year, he's probably going to be a couple of years away. He was taken number 4 overall. Henry Davis, the year before when the Pirates had the worst record in baseball, was taken with the number 1 overall pick. He's not that far away. Probably more of 2024 in regards to the expectation of him playing in a major league level. But he's a guy that's going to be on the radar. Endy Rodriguez was a player that they got in a trade with the Padres and the Mets. And let me recap this deal for you. Joe Musgrove was traded from the Pirates to the Padres a couple of years ago. Obviously, Musgrove playing in the playoffs with the San Diego Padres, pitched a pivotal Game 3 in a wild card series win against the New York Mets last season. So in that trade, Joey Lucchesi, left-hand pitcher for the San Diego Padres, ended up going to the New York Mets. The Mets traded, at that time, now catcher, second baseman, and outfielder, Endy Rodriguez, to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, Rodriguez has moved up the chain. He's very highly regarded now. I think he's somebody who you could see in the major leagues this year. And now he's just 22 years old. He can catch. He can play a little infield. He can play a little outfield. If I'm the Pirates, I'm excited about getting to see some of the young prospects that are going to start making an impact at the major league level. And I didn't say this last year. I didn't have the same belief in the Pirates. I thought it was going to be another rebuilding year, and it was. They lost 100 games. I think this could be a very positive season for the Pirates under Derek Shelton. Ben Sherrington's got this team going in the right direction. I don't think they're going to make a serious run for any postseason berths, but I like them this year. I think they can win as many as 71 games. I could see them going 71 and 91, maybe outlasting the Cincinnati Reds, maybe not finishing last place like they have over the past couple seasons. And I think you could come out of this season starting to be excited about the future and maybe look at 2024 as a legitimate season for the team to be competitive. This is my 31 MLB previews, number 24. And that's the Pittsburgh Pirates, who, like I said, I got 71 and 91, finishing in 4th place in the NL Central Division. God bless you, and as always, I'll see you on the other side.